How you doing, everybody? Thanks for stopping by and joining us today for another Rolling Over the Hill right here on the Live to Roll channel. And thanks to all of you for being part of our Live to Roll family. Also, I'd like to thank our sponsors, mobility professionals and urology professionals. They're a great and helpful group of experts that are very much part of our community and can help you with all your mobility and rehab equipment as well as catheter needs. So, a big thanks to them for sponsoring Live to Roll. On today's show, our guest will be Mark Fuglevand. I probably butchered that somehow. I didn't even ask him how to pronounce it. He is a SCI survivor, friend, and entrepreneur, owner of Abilities. And we'll be talking today about getting a colostomy and aging with a disability and everything else that goes with that. So there's plenty to talk about, share, and please make sure to include your questions, comments, and views in the chat. And don't forget to hit that like button. Hello, everyone. My name is Robert Soto. I'm a T12 spinal cord injury from a motorcycle racing accident 50 years ago. So let's get started and welcome my co-host, Bobby and Luis. Luis, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good today. Um, for those that don't know, I've haven't been around as long as Robert here, but 44 years from an industrial accident, and I'm a L3, L4, incomplete, very incomplete. So, anyways, let's move along to Bobby here, our
Yeah,
youngster.
Yeah, you're the
the young.
youngster.
Luckily, I'm not the youngster of this whole crew,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
not as old as you guys. I'm Bobby Rohan of 35 years, C5, C6 from a bicycle accident. And let's move it more over to our guests. Thanks for joining us, Mark.
Yeah, no, thanks, Bobby. Sorry, my video is gonna freeze, but you can hear my voice hopefully. So
Yep.
I'm
Yeah.
Mark Fuglevand. I had a diving accident when I was 18 years old, and I'm going on almost 29 years here as a C6 incomplete on August 21st of this month. So
Oh, yeah. Anniversary time coming up.
Yep. Yep.
Was,
yeah,
was your
good old summer
was
month.
it was it pool or sandbar?
I was in was Ranger Bay Sunset and PCH near Gladstone's. Is where I smacked my head.
Hmm.
Nice little jolt, huh?
Way to go.
Well, we got a
So yeah.
pretty crappy conversation coming up, and we're talking colostomies, and I know it's not it's a touchy subject in the sense that not everybody wants uh, another thing attached to the body.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't want to think about it. Seeing your poop chute right there at your belly, and
Yeah.
um,
And,
and
and,
wearing a
and,
bag.
and And another thing to get from a provider that you got to hassle to get when they get slow on deliveries.
Oh yeah,
It's one more thing.
yeah, exactly. But things change after time and aging with our disability. The bowel program starts going south. It's just either it takes longer, or you're having more accidents, or you feel more bloated over time, and there's so many other things. But um, you know, there's that choice in life that we have to make where maybe this would be simpler for me. Um, and myself and Mark here, our guests, we made that choice finally. And I can tell you a little bit of history about mine. Uh, After my injury, nobody really talked to me about um, a colostomy or anything like that. I started hearing about it, over time, little by little, never really thinking about it. Um, and didn't really know too many people who had a colostomy. And if I did know them, I didn't know they actually had it. So, but it wasn't until finally what happened was my daughter had a lot of my stepdaughter. She had a lot of stomach issues, so she got it, a colostomy, and actually she has an ileostomy, and we can talk about the difference between what a colostomy and ileostomy is. It's really just more of the colon is taken away. And so I knew about it after that, and then knew that a lot of spinal cord folks had it, and it makes it easier in life. And I'm like, oh, okay, but it's something I probably wouldn't do. Then I started having stomach problems. My bowel program was going south. It was taking a little bit longer than usual. Next thing I know, I felt like every time I did my bowel program, I'd want to do it, again right away in a couple hours because I felt bloated, and I was just having a lot of cramping, a lot of I just felt full all the time. So I started eating less and just not feeling good and just feeling exhausted, like something was really troubling me. Um, and over the years, the past like 5 years and before I got my colostomy, I was having also hemorrhoid issues a little bit, and that was concerning. And I had to have one of my hemorrhoids banned, and that's never fun going into the doctor and doing something like that. And because one, you got to sit on it, and they don't always, when you sit down after having your hemorrhoids banned, they don't really do much because they most likely aren't going to hold. So it's just a pain in the butt. And my wife kept saying maybe it'd be easier, maybe it'd be easier. And I was at first going, no, 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 huh? Yeah. And so it was just like, um, I can't think about it. I don't want to do something like that and have another attachment. I already have a super pubic here, and just done with, having that, more things attached to me. So eventually the pain got worse and the bloating got worse. And one day I, um, I was in bed for almost 2 days, just worst stomach ache, the worst bloating, did my bowel program, and just like literally I get out of the shower, back in bed to get dressed, and I feel like I wish I can do another bowel program again. I felt like that. And I'm just finally looked at my wife and said, I gotta go for the colostomy. We gotta go get a call, talk to a doctor. And so we went to the same doctor that did my daughter's, and he's like, yeah, no problem. I can do it. And the second I told him that I wanted to do it, I wanted it done right then and there. I didn't want to wait anymore. And luckily, he had a cancellation, so I only had to wait about 5 days and got in there and got it done, and haven't regretted since. It was a learning curve at first. The first couple of years, trying to figure out, uh, in the sense of, is this food going to do this, or why today I have so much and the next day I don't have a lot, or why sometimes it's more soft than, and some days, you can tell it's, I'm getting what's called pancaking, where, it's harder. So it brings your patch up and it just starts pancaking underneath the wafer. So, but after a while, I got used to it. I loved the idea of not doing any more bowel program, speeded up the morning process. Just
Yeah, save time, a lot of time, right?
oh yeah, get in the shower and get out. And it was like that's all I had to do, and then put a new colostomy bag on. So yeah, I mean, I love it now. I've gotten so used to it where a couple times I forget I was at my car after an event and I needed to change my shirt because I got wet, and I took off my shirt and waiting for my wife to grab the other one, and she comes out of the van going, "You're just like got your shirt off, you don't care?" And I'm like, "Nah, people see me with my bag. I could care less anymore, so it doesn't bother me." And that's my little story and my decision of making it. I think it was close to 30 years. So how long has it been, Mark? I can't even remember what year we got it in. Because you got yours a year later.
Well, I just finished 5. I just finished 5 years, so you're probably coming up on 6.
Yeah, so 6 in December. Yeah. So that's my story. I don't know if you want to talk about your story and what changed for you.
Yeah, sure. So just to give you a little bit of background, when I got injured as a C6 incomplete, I had pretty good sensation, and I had really good spasticity in my legs where I could transfer up to high places. And so what I did for the first 10 years, which in hindsight was probably not smart, was I was like, oh, I'm just going to go to the bathroom on my own. I'm going to figure it out, and I'm going to transfer on every toilet I can and do it normally because I thought I could. And so I did that. I didn't do bowel programs. It was like by day 5 where I had to luckily be by a toilet because my body would be like, you got to go, versus I would sit every couple of days and kind of rock and try to push. And that was not smart because later on in life, it kind of like what Bobby was saying, I ended up getting hemorrhoids. I ended up having multiple hemorrhoidectomy surgeries, lots of bleeding, lots of discomfort, just all these things that I shouldn't have done. So I probably should have had started a bowel program from day 1 to get myself comfortable to that process, because there are a lot of people in chairs that are very successful at it. Even later on in life, they like their bowel programs and they have had success. And for me, it got to be horrible. Like when Bobby was thinking about having his, I had already kind of started that process as well, of talking to people. And it was really nice to have Bobby kind of going through all those steps, because it was, and his wife Ellen, is very helpful to see the products, to understand like, hey, if you want to have this done, you're going to have to do the prep. You should check in the night before at the hospital if you can, and do it in the hospital so you're not sitting on a commode for 4 hours. And like that kind of stuff was super helpful to know, to kind of get me more comfortable. Now, I'd have to say that, the whole having another thing hanging on my body, or that, I don't know, I really thought about it and it didn't bother me so much. Um, I think what really, if you kind of take a step back and think about spinal cord injury and paralysis and all that, I think that a lot of us learn to get comfortable to be uncomfortable. And I was okay having this bag because I knew that I was going to get 2 hours back of my life every day that was lost because of the trauma that I was going through with this bowel program. And it got to be that. Exactly what Bobby was saying. Like, I was watching everything I put in my body. I didn't want to go places. I was having accidents left and right. I went from doing like the magic bullet, which in the beginning was wonderful, to, every 3 days. I was doing it every 2 days, and then it was every day. And it was, oh my God, I didn't have good results. I can't leave the house. Oh, what did I eat last night? Oh, that's going to upset my stomach. And then it became having more upset stuff. For those of you in a chair, having in a chair is probably one of the worst things because, you're talking about changing your clothes. If you're lucky enough to have an extra cushion cover, changing it, who's helping you change it, getting into the shower and clean that part of your body that's hard to reach. Like, it's just a very mentally and physically draining experience. And that was happening constantly at a certain point. And then that's kind of when I was talking to Bobby, and I was just like, I got to do this, dude. Like, I can't see. So I was looking for negative comments. I was looking for, tell me why I shouldn't get this. What's the bad thing? What's the downside? Oh, you make fart noises. Okay, which does happen. I was trying to look for all the bad things that could negatively affect my lifestyle, and there were very few. Like, all the pros of getting this, of where I was at in my life. And that's kind of the other thing I want to say. Like, this might not be appropriate or right for someone that maybe is younger. Maybe you're going to feel uncomfortable dating, having a bag. I don't know. I mean, those are some of the things you have to weigh in your decision. But for me, it was a no-brainer. Like, I'm married, I have kids. I want to be able to be present for their sports, their school, their life events. and I didn't want to stay home with anxiety because I couldn't go to the bathroom, or I was worried about what might happen, right? And then just aside from just all the medical issues related with all the bleeding that I was having, it was traumatic. Um, so after Bobby had it done and he kind of explained, oh yeah, a couple days and I was out. I'm like, oh, I'm good. Like let's go. And I'd already had my doctor from having those surgeries, so it was pretty easy. You know, learning more about colostomies and how I had a sigmoid colostomy, which is on the left side and it's farther down, so it's farther along in the process of digestion and forming of stool, which I guess is important relative to like what Bobby said on ileostomy, where it's higher up, more acidic and all these kind of things. So like to me, it wasn't that big a deal. I think my biggest thing was, can I do it independently, right? I don't want to go backwards. I don't want to rely on someone for my care more than I already have. That's probably something in general, aging wise, with the spinal cord injury that we worry about, right? Like we don't want more help. I think anybody, right? Anybody aging. Um, for me, that was my concern was, okay, what are the products going to look like? Can I use them? And Bobby had those things. I was able to see it and test it, and so I felt very comfortable getting that surgery, other than I didn't want any complications from anesthesia or autonomic dysreflexia, that kind of thing. But it was pretty smooth, and I think, like Bobby said, I haven't had any complaints really, other than that my stomach is constantly just angry at me, and that has nothing to do with the colostomy. It's just it's noisy. It's very noisy. But again, like with what I do and with my company, like I found ways to create products to kind of help with that process. And I think that they do this at Craig. I believe they offer it as an option, and maybe Shepherd. But I think it's something to put on the table, at least to have people talk about. Bowel programs. Going to the bathroom is part of life, and there are different ways to do it. And I have been very happy with just waking up, changing my bag, and maybe my wafer every 4 days, and just going about my life. Um, so that part of it has been huge for like my mental health and just being positive about life in general. So yeah, I'm been very happy with it.
Yeah. I think, one small, and it's not a complaint per se, is, it's had lunch with, friends out and about, and, you know, stomach, bowels move, and all of a sudden, uh, I got this bulge coming, extra bulge, it's already enough that quads have a quad gut. And, because I'm not big up here, so I wear tighter shirts, and that means it's got to be tighter down there. And so, yeah, my shirts are tight,
Really
and
tight.
then, oh, tight, baby. And, so once your bowels move, because there's no, um, now it's just always moving, just kind of like if you have a suprapubic, it's constantly going. And so I might have a little bulge, and sometimes if it's bigger than usual, then it's like, dang. But during the winter times when I'm wearing sweatshirts, it doesn't show hardly at all. So, I love that portion of winter, and that's about it. Um, but, during the summer, I watch, what I eat, if I'm going to be out and about, and maybe not eat so much so it gets too full or whatever. But that's the only little problem I have now. Um, Robert, you have a story.
Yo,
You have a
yeah,
story about
yeah,
colostomy
the
and how it's
colostomy.
come and go in your
Now,
life.
yeah, I had a colostomy bag back in 2005, somewhere around there, because had to have muscle flap surgery, and my pressure sore was on the ischial. So I went to Rancho to do it, and the doctor there that was doing it then was Dr. Rabai, which is kind of like specialist in pressure sores and all that. So anyway, he wanted me to have a colostomy bag. Well, through the surgery, so there's no accidents when I'm laying on my back and recovering, and it's just easier for no infection and things like that. So I kind of was hesitant to do that. I really didn't want it, and for whatever reason, I didn't want a colostomy bag. So anyway, him and I discussed it for a while, and we made an arrangement where I'd have it wear it for 7 months, and then but I want it reversed after. Once I start healing much more and stuff. So anyway, I went and had the colostomy bag, and really didn't have any complaints about it. It's just that because my mindset was, well, it's going to be reversed and all that. So, and I did go back a few months later, went in the hospital, they removed the bag and everything got reconnected. So the thing is now that I'm, what is that, 18 years ago or whatever it was, uh, things are changing for me now. My bowel, I've always had kind of bowel issues because I used to manually vac and hemorrhoids and the bleeding. I mean, sometimes it looked like a murder scene, man. It was just crazy. And so I did the bands and all. I did everything you could for that. So what helped me at the time was because I had this pressure sore. So I got to give myself a rest by having a colostomy bag. I didn't have to evacuate normally. I had to do through the bag, so that helped a lot. So after the bag, I stopped doing manual evac, and um, things got a little bit better. But now I'm finding out that my stomach's changing. I mean, it's always feels like, okay, like I'm with Bobby, because magic bullets really don't work for me. And with my level of injury, T12, I still have some of the issues like an L1 or something like that. So my bladder, I know when I have to go, I have sensation, all that stuff. My bowels, I feel it that I have to go, but I can't do anything. I mean, so if I get that one little tinge in my stomach, I got to start looking, you know. So I'm on the fence right now. I go, maybe it is time because I've always figured the colostomy bag would find its way back into my life somewhere because now it's, I dedicate a couple hours in the mornings for bowel program and all that just to make sure I'm done and all that. Because for me, lots of times, especially when it's because I always for me, I kind of I'd rather be a little constipated. And so sometimes for me, if when it's real soft or whatever, the stool and all that, I don't have that much sensation with it that I have to go and it'll just evacuate. So I'm on the fence now about it if it's time for me to do it. And I mean, I can't think of anything negative. I mean, just like where you guys, but for me, heck, it took me 50 years to get an accessible vehicle. So I don't know how long it's going to take to make my mind up on the colostomy bag, but I, I think about it more and more. So, and that's for me, that's good because it's an option for me, and I know it's an option, and I know it's a viable and good option for me. Because I remember when I had that for the 7, 8 months that I had the bag, I was going to Vegas, and it was completely different because I wasn't worrying about, if I wasn't feeling good, my stomach wasn't feeling right in the morning and all that. So I know that it's going to be a big change, but I just haven't pulled the trigger on it yet. And it is important to me because, and before I didn't want to keep the bag because of my lifestyle back then. And so now that I'm slowing up in life and stuff, so it's not that big of a deal to me. So there's nothing really stopping me other than me saying yes. So,
Yeah.
and like I say, I read the articles, I read as much as I can out there, and I'm all familiar with the wafer and changing the bag. So that's no surprise to me because I did it before. So I already have all the answers I want. I just got to make up my mind and say yes.
Mhm.
But yeah, I guess one of the things though that does kind of cast a little bit of shadow on me is attaching something else to my body, because before, when I first got hurt, is using the leg bag. And that was a hassle for me because I was using one of those external catheters and keeping those things on and
Yeah.
they're slipping off. What a hassle that was.
Yeah.
So, so then I stopped wearing the leg bag and I was relying totally on my sensation. But I'd go into a restaurant. You go, okay, where's the bathroom? That was the first thing you don't know how to know where the bathroom was. You go to the bathroom before you
Yep.
sit down, and you do your thing, and then before you leave, you hit the bathroom. I mean, it was a constant life of knowing where the bathrooms were at. So same thing here, and especially when my stomach's acting up. There's lots of times when it's just fault. I don't really have to go to the bathroom, but I don't know how much of it's psychological, but it just my stomach's not feeling normal. And so I don't know
Mhm.
if I should take a chance on going out and so most of the time I just kind of roll the dice and it works out okay. And that urgency passes and I'm fine. So right now I'm going through a process of kind of retraining my bowels because I used to go every day before. Then it was every other day. And then I got to 3 days. But now at my state where I'm at now, I can't go. I can't wait 3 days. So I'm trying to get back just to every other day. This way, I'm not spending my whole week in the mornings in bed, and I have some time to get out in the morning and do stuff. So, uh, yeah, there's no negatives for me. There really is for me to say, hey, you make that list of pros and cons. You know,
Yeah.
mine are all pro for it.
Yeah. Robert, you might want to see if you can redo the plug on your headset. You just a little bit of feedback just at the end
Okay.
of sentences. But Luis, you're in kind of a different position. So this is not really up your
Yeah,
alley because you got more sensation and more control. Is that right?
a little bit. For me, I've been using the same thing for almost 44 years, which is Valsalva and Crede. And for those that don't know, means straining and pushing. And I know that's not going to last forever. At some point, I'm going to have to change my routine. I've just
Yeah,
been
and that was
lucky
a
enough.
that was a Rancho thing, right? I mean, they really the bladder
That
crede
was
and the
very much a
bowel
Rancho
crede.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
yeah,
actually had classes on it. There would be like 40, 50 of us patients in a room with Dr. Komar, a urologist, who would explain how this stuff works. It was like going to a college course on bowel and bladder. It was something else.
Old
But he,
school,
he
baby.
would explain that because of our different levels, and he would point people out in the classroom. Okay, this person is going to use this, and that person's going to use that, and don't expect to always use the same things. Things will change up. You might find out later that one technique works better for you than what we taught you. We might teach you one thing that seems pretty good for 5 or 6 years, and then down the road you find out that another technique or another device or a different type of practice works better, or something new comes along. you know
Mm,
be open to change, but also be open to sticking with what works for you. That's the
yeah,
big thing.
absolutely. Yeah, and there's other avenues nowadays. I know on our Tuesday show, Shawn has talked about using the coloplast, uh, where inserting water into the bowel area.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and so that works now better for him because he was going down that road and thinking he might need one, and luckily that helped and that changed. So and it's I mean, for me, now it's great because when I travel, I don't have to bring as much stuff, and
yeah,
it just
yeah,
made it so much easier. And kind of like both Mark and Mark said, saving 2 hours of your life and saving 2 hours on a vacation time is even more valuable.
yeah,
And
yeah.
when you're on vacation, you're not always in the bathroom might suck. Then the room might not be set up quite right where it just makes it a
Yeah,
chaotic day.
it's just a break in your technique. Just you have to adjust a little bit there when you're in a hotel room or whatever.
uh,
That's the whole
you know,
thing.
and when I used to travel, there was times I traveled by myself or with friends that I wasn't going to ask to do that, and I would find nurses now I wouldn't have to do that, and
Yeah,
so it'd be so much easier. But maybe we can talk about so maybe you're thinking about doing it, right? Okay, what's the first step? Obviously, I would say, and Mark, if you have another suggestion, is just go talk to your primary doctor. Say, listen, I'm not feeling all that comfortable, and I feel this might be an avenue. listened to and heard a couple people that said it helped change their lives. So I think first going to your doctor and talking to them about getting this done. And I'm sure, I would hope that 95% of the doctors out there are going to say, yeah, if you think that's more comfortable for you and you want to go that direction, let's start here. There might be a few out there like, why would you want to do that? And, you're, that's a big surgery or whatever. I can only imagine. Mark,
Yeah.
you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, no, I mean, if you have a primary care physician that has some SCI knowledge relative to just understanding what a colostomy is, that would be ideal.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that might be a physiatrist that you have. Like I have one that it specializes in SCI, even though my primary care doesn't know everything about SCI. Because I mean, there's some concerns, right? Like we have concerns about having surgeries and things like that. But yeah, I mean, in terms of the surgery, it's not a very I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but it's not a long surgery. It's not a dangerous one. I mean, it's reversible, as Robert said. There's a lot of things that you can take with it that it's worth going down that road. But yeah, I would try to get comfortable, and then more than that, like I had Bobby. I had a couple of people, but I had someone who was going to get it. Whatever 6 or 9 months
Yeah.
ahead of me, so I could follow his journey. I could ask him those questions. That's really important because you want to know, like, hey, how many days did it take before you were back up in your chair? Right? That's not something you can ask an everyday person. And then,
Mm-hmm.
hey, can you change it yourself? What supplies do you like? I mean, there's a lot of things that you want to ask and try to figure out. But yeah, square one, start with your doctor, and then reach out to your community.
Yeah,
There's just so many
definitely.
people. I mean, just aside from the show, but there's a lot of people that can help you and are willing to help. Like I'm willing to talk to anybody about it because I've had a really good, um, I've had a pretty good ride so far. Because I know it's a big deal. Like no one wants to have surgery and no one wants to change, especially someone in a chair with SCI. Like we don't like change. I don't like my foot
Yeah.
plate to be half-inch lower than it is right now. It messes my whole day up.
Oh, yeah.
Let alone change my routine,
Yeah.
and have to like use new supplies and get them covered
Yeah.
by insurance, all that
Yeah.
stuff. So I
You
get
get
it.
you get to you get dependent on the routine and the technique, and anything that deviates from that, it just throws you off.
Yeah,
And
it's hard. It becomes normal. I mean, it's part of you, right? I mean,
yeah,
Yep. Yep.
and you got a good point. And the biggest, talk to your doctor. Your doctor's going to send you to the right doctor, and you'll probably have an appointment with them, obviously. And the next thing after everything's starting to get set up, my biggest thing is what, and I believe I told you this, Mark, um, and I wish I would have done this sooner is calling or calling or emailing the companies, Hollister, Coloplast, and any others that you might find online, but calling them and ask them, hey, I'm going to get a colostomy. Can you send me a sample pack? They're
Yeah.
very happy to do that, and they send a variety and maybe go on carecure.com is another place where that's where I went and found out a lot of people were more choosing Hollister over the others, and so I was like, okay, I might so I looked on the website, and then when I talked to, this is after, but I talked to the Hollister rep and said, can you send me one of these and these? That's what I think I want to do. Because the first sample pack, I was like, I'm not really thrilled about doing it this way. Which, there's two types of bags, I believe, or there's an open bag and a closed bag.
Yeah.
So a closed bag is, like it is, it's just all closed in, and Mark has it. That's a
Yep.
closed
Yeah.
bag, and you
Yeah.
take it off. You put it in a nice little trash bag they give you, and throw it away. And then there's ones that you can actually open up the bag and empty the bag out into the toilet, or squirt
gross. I don't
water
know why I don't.
and clean it. And I saw that online, and that's the way my daughter used to do it. And I was like, there's no, that's why I knew exactly. So when I got all these samples, they were all open bags. And it's funnier. It's more expensive to have the open bag than the closed bag. And I was just like, wow. So you want to, get a couple of samples. And I don't know if I told you this, Mark, but I know I tell a lot of others. And I just told, we have a buddy, Ken, who was on our show not too long ago. And, I told him, get those sample products and put it on, put it on the left side of your belly button and just, you'll get a feel for it. And,
Yeah.
I know you don't have a stoma yet, but it will help you out, because I remember the first or second day I was at home and I was just kind of rubbing around here and that bag sounded so loud to me. I'm like, oh my God, this is the loudest thing. How am I going to get away with this? Now I don't hear it. But, and also the bag I finally switched to, like the one Mark showed, is much quieter. The other ones are clear.
Yeah.
That one's more discreet.
Well, they send you home with one that's clear. I'm like, I don't want to look at my poop.
I don't want to see that.
Yeah, and that's really important to feel what your comfort zone is because nobody wants to. And in case you do go like this and your shirt comes up, and then all of a sudden somebody's like,
I don't want to see a clear bag. I don't want to see clear.
Now the bags we have, Mark and I have, are our skin color. They're not going to show anything, so nobody has to look at it, or poop or anything like that.
No.
Sorry, Rob.
No. Go ahead, Mark.
I was just going to add, it's important to advocate for yourself. A lot of these products are not necessarily going to be perfect for everyone. And if you think about the one that empties, people that get colostomies are typically going to be older, or maybe they have some special like cancer or Crohn's or something like that, but majority older. So if you think about it, those products might have been designed for caregivers or loved ones, not for someone like myself or Bobby that wants to do it on our own. So that might not be look. I have the toughest time. I tried those, and it's like they brought me a clear see-through empty bag, and it's like I was getting poop on the Velcro, and it was just gross. I'm like, why would anyone ever want to use this? But if you think about it, if someone can't do it themselves and they're elderly, and a caregiver wants to do it, it's probably better than having to do the two-piece, maybe, right? So there's reasons why they have certain products. They're not always a one size fits all. It's important you try the stuff and figure out what works best for you, your lifestyle, your comfort level, all that kind of thing. And Bobby chose the two-piece, and when I saw it and I tried it on, I was like, oh yeah, this is my speed. I need to figure out how to do this on my own. That's what I want. I want the Tupperware two-piece system. I don't want the empty bag type.
Yeah. So is it the same thing where you attach the bag to the wafer and it's kind of like got a snap ring around it, like Tupperware. Yeah. Okay. See that's what I had, and that was for me, the thing to have. It just, you have a couple bags with me wherever I went, I wanted to show.
There are some that are designed as the closed system, but it's not snap. It's like you still put it. It's a wafer in a bag all attached as one, and that means when you're changing your bag, you're also peeling it away from your skin, which is going to harm your skin a little bit in the long run. Where this, you keep that wafer that he snapped the bag to, that stays on your stomach for, like Mark said, about 3 to 4 days, depending on when you start noticing it lifting a little bit or it not sticking as well. And Mark, I noticed you have, so you cut your size, right? So
so when I get mine, so it's gonna come, and there's so many different wafers. The one thing you'll find out is you could have a stoma that sticks out really far. You could have one that's flush to your stomach, and if it's an issue where it's leaking, there's all kinds of products. But for me, I have one that's pretty flush, and you can see right here, this material right here, I cut away from this hole. to the size of my stoma. Oops, sorry. Let me put it back here. Yeah, so
Yeah.
this material you can cut. It's very easy to cut, and you just make it comfortable. And like for me, mine is pretty flush to my stomach, and
Yeah.
it doesn't really, like Bobby said, it'll bow out. I mean, if you have gas, that's the other thing. Like depending on the product, if you have a lot of gas, which I sometimes do, depending on food,
Time to burp
it will
it. You have
fill
to
up
burp
pretty
it,
quick.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you don't want to be within 100 feet of when I burp my bag. So if you
Oh,
hit somebody,
I went way far away from Mark, and then I came back and he goes, "Did you just burp?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sorry."
this guy burps
That's
his
funny.
bag. I'm at the other end of his
Yeah,
yard, and the wind just perfectly blew, and I'm just like, dude, did you wait until
that's funny. That's funny, man.
But
Hey,
yeah, I
Mark.
mean,
So
there's.
when you trim the center of the wafer for
Mhm.
the just for your stoma, it doesn't leave any type of thing for irritation or anything like that. Is it because you have to worry about that, right? For irritation of the
No, and I
stoma,
don't
right?
have like I don't. Yeah, no, I mean, well, okay, it does. Like, I will get output on my skin with
Hmm.
this style, but I've never really had an issue because once it starts to eat away at there, I'm like
Yeah.
at day 3, day 4, and then I'll change it. And
Okay.
that's kind of the thing, the difference between when you have like an ileostomy versus a sigmoid colostomy, because you're getting something that's more formed. It's not going to be as acidic or burning on your skin. Um, so I've never really had to worry about that other than, after like 3 or 4 days, you want to change it because if you do have
Yeah.
something on your skin, it can start to weep a little bit. It can get raw, but you'll notice with that skin that's there, like it heals pretty quick.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
pretty resilient. Or I don't know if that's a good word, but like,
Yeah.
and again, there's other products you can use. If you have problems with the skin, they have like these, what is it called? Is it caking? I don't know. It's like powder, right, Bobby, that you can do to kind of build up the skin. You can put adhesives. They have so many different products depending on your situation. So
And
you don't
do
have
you
to feel like
do
it
you
has
use
to
the
be
pre
ideal.
wipes, Mark? Do you use the pre wipes before you put your wafer on?
I don't. I don't. I'll use like if I have any residue, I'll like use just toilet paper, water, and if there's like residue from this thing, I'll just kind of peel it off and I'm good. I'll just blow on it, dry it, and then slap it on, and
Yeah.
I'm good.
Well, the
I
pre
I
wipes
haven't
are
used
to
all
help.
those other products, but
Yeah, it
what's that?
just I kind of use it just to help make sure that I protect my skin um,
Yeah,
from the wafer. That's about it. And you explained yours. Mine, I don't have to cut. I know the size that I need to put around my stoma, and so I ordered that size every time, and my stoma hasn't changed. It doesn't get any
that's
bigger or
great.
smaller, and so I'm lucky that I can go with one one wafer without having
Yeah,
to cut it up. I know our lovely ambassador wife here asked a question. What are you guys' best tips in keeping the area around the stoma healthy? It takes care of itself, really. I mean, when you change your
yeah,
white wafer, I mean, make sure you wash
Clean. Clean.
that
Yeah.
area, pretty well. Um, Sometimes when you wash around that area, you might make it bleed. It's okay. It's not
yeah,
going to, it very little blood. Or if you get a lot, it means, hey, be careful, or get a softer washcloth or something. But I rarely see any blood. As a guy, I do have to take, I got one razor blade that I use for just that
oh yeah,
area.
shave around
And
it.
so I shave the hair around it, because, the hair will make it not stick as well. So you want to definitely, make sure there's no hair around that area. But really um, because of the colostomy, if like Mark said, some residue will get on the skin. It's not perfect, and it can get underneath that wafer from time to time. It should, if you're bowels are healthy, poop is healthy, it's not going to burn your skin. It's when really watery, or people who have ileostomy because they have no colon to form, and so it becomes more acidic and acidy. And so that's what's gonna, so like if you had like a lot of diarrhea, then that might harm your skin because you're everything's going through you so fast, it doesn't have time to form, and it still has a lot of that acid, and that's what's going to harm your stomach. And like Mark said, there was, of the 6 years I've had mine, almost, I would say one time it became really red. I didn't know why, and I had to I don't know, leave my wafer off for like a couple hours with that powder stuff, or I had some kind of better paste of some sort. And I just had a towel, or not a towel, but a lot of uh, toilet paper wipes in case I was going to start going, and then I would just kind of wipe it up and then put it in the trash. And my wife, every so often, and I just laid down until a couple hours later we finally put the wafer on, and it was good to go.
Now I have a question for you guys on the diet. What can't you or shouldn't you eat when you have a colostomy bag?
See, I never understood this. I went to a like support group, and the average age was like 65, and
Mm-hmm.
they were talking about oh, I couldn't eat this, it got clogged, I have to watch this. I eat everything, and the only thing that I can say the downside of that for me is that as I've gotten older, like if it's tomatoes or onions or cabbage, like everything just kind of upsets my stomach. I love
Yeah.
Mexican food, and like half of it now, I'm like, I'm rolling the dice. I know it's gonna be a rough night. The day
Yeah.
passed, I might have diarrhea, whatever, but I'm filling a bag. I'm not. It's
Yeah.
not in my chair,
Yeah.
and to me, like,
Yeah.
it's worth it to me. But yeah, as I've gotten older, that's changed. But I've heard those stories. I have never like chewed my food more or cut it a different way or cut out
Yeah.
foods because of a colostomy. Like I don't understand where that came from. Maybe it has something to do with someone else's condition. Maybe it's Crohn's, or I don't
Yeah, I
know.
think
But
it's more on the
it's
Crohn
never.
side. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think that's you'll find a lot of people who have able body have colostomy. It's because they might have the Crohn's, and a lot of times they have to go to the ileostomy because of the way their system is. But yeah, I can eat everything. There are times I'm taking off the bag and there's my corn. That's not it. But I was really worried because they said, can't have popcorn, can't have this. A few
Yeah.
vegetables on that list that I didn't go to a support group, but I read a bunch and I saw foods not to eat, and I was just like, "Are you kidding me? I got to be
Yeah.
this careful." And over time, I found out no, I don't have to be that careful. Chad
That's
asked in
funny you
our
said that, Bobby, because
what's that?
no, I was saying it's funny you said that because I think the ostomate community has like this little thing about feeling your bag, and if you feel certain food in there, then you kind of know like how your digestion's working. So you're like feeling it out, like, oh yeah, there's the peanuts I had from the
Yeah,
cookies, from the macadamia nut cookies. So you're like, you feel better about your digestion.
yeah. Um, our friend Chad Chair Life asked, "Do you keep your bag off when you shower?" Um, Eventually, I take it off. It's not the whole shower, in case things start flowing. But towards the end of the shower, I've pretty much washed up everything, and then we'll take it off, wash around that area really well. If I have to grab that razor, I'll tidy up a bit, and then turn off the shower, start drying off. And then and I don't dry around that area. What I do is take a 4x4 and I put it right there on my stoma.
Yeah.
And because it's wet around that area, it just sticks. And in case something starts moving, because I want to get into back in the bed and then put on it's easier for me to put my wafer on, once I'm really dry, because in the shower, you just sit there and wait. Yeah. I don't know about you, Mark.
Yeah, I just keep everything on. I mean, I swim with my wafer and bag, and I may change the bag, but the wafer will stay on. Like I may put on a new wafer right before I get in the shower, and it's fine. I mean, it just really depends. I mean, since I'm cleaning the area every time I change the wafer, I don't feel the need to like clean it in the
Yeah.
shower per se. Um, I think if your system's working and all you got to do is pop a new bag on because the other bag's wet, then do that. I mean, that's the nice thing about when you get supplies. I mean, they typically give you, I don't know what this is my company, but I mean, usually 2 to 3 per day. So, I mean, at a minimum, and you may not use it here, so you get reserves. So I'm a bag off here or there, and if I go into a cooler shower, I mean, it's no different. But
Mhm.
everyone has their own routine. That's what I've learned. It's
Yeah.
whatever you're comfortable with. That's what you do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Whatever works.
And the last thing I was going to talk about is at the beginning, I was kind of worried about who would see the bag. And, I looked into products that can hide that bag. You kind of said it, Mark, with swimming. I was like, what happened if I get in a swimming pool? I don't want that. And so I went out and I got I found online, it's called a stealth belt. So it's kind of like wearing a fanny pack, but so it covers up the bag and everything. So if your shirt does rise up, it looks like a, a, a black fanny pack or something like that. And I found it
Did
to
it
be
work?
more of it works. I mean, but I found it to be more of a hassle. It was like,
Yeah.
okay, now I got to put this on, and then if I have to
Yeah.
burp it,
Yeah.
Yep.
it just made it more of a work. And
It's
eventually,
yeah.
I mean, I used it maybe a dozen times, if that, and just found it just being more of a
So I
hassle.
have the same product. Yeah, I have the same product. It stayed in my drawer. I tried it once. I think if you have really good hand dexterity, it's a cool product because you have to feed the bag through. There's a little hole that's going to meet with your wafer on the two piece. And then when your bag gets full, it's still like, okay, how do I empty this appropriately? How do I do it? So if you're already struggling with snapping your bag on, it's really not a good product for you to use. I get the whole vanity part of it. They've got this like rugby player or fitness guy that's like promoting it, or he's working out and he's got tattoos and he's ripped and he's got this little, like Bobby said, like a fanny pack, like $120 fanny pack that he's
Yeah.
wearing, and it's great. It's a great idea, but it's not for everyone. Is what I'm getting at. Like
Yeah.
I didn't use mine other than the first time because I tried to change my bag and I got it all messed up. So I was like, well, this isn't really going to work for me.
Yeah, yeah. Before getting to that close to that time, but before we go, you have we know Mark, and we've featured Mark here on this channel a few times with his products, from abilities that he 3D prints, helping you out with a credit card holder to find a cell phone charger, or to plug it in very easy, cup holders, exercise equipment. But you made something to help snap um, your bag on easier. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah, and I don't. So we're definitely gonna get you hooked up with one. So what I did was I made tools specific to Hollister products, because that's what I like. And sometimes when you have to do things for other products, there's attributes that don't exist. So Hollister has a really nice. They just have like different features on there where I could design around that and help someone with limited hand function be able to put it on. So I'm going to create something with Bobby. He just has a different diameter size than mine. Um, the diameter of this is different on his, and I know that because of the color of the bag. But I would just have to create it, but and oh, nice picture there of my face. It allows it to snap on and move it around, burp it, etc. So, yeah, no, I wanted to make this more normalized, especially with even just catheterization. It's something we have to deal with as SCI. You see the importance of people putting on standing and walking with exoskeletons, but I think at the end of the day, like we really hate the bowel bladder, sexual function stuff. all those secondary conditions make life really, really difficult. I don't mind living sitting down. Like, I've built my life around sitting down. I would love it to be more accessible, the world, but this is how I'm living my life. I'm not looking to stand. It would be nice to be able to reach cupboards and etc., but I'm not. That's not in my, So for me, I'm like, if this has to exist in my life, what's an easier way to do it and normalize it? I want people to go out and eat and feel like they can change their colostomy bag or dump it or whatever if they have limited hand function and not feel like it's a death sentence, because it doesn't have to be. It's actually an upgrade, in my opinion, to my lifestyle. Like, I love now that I'm not thinking about this thing half the time. But I know I've been chatting a lot, but Bobby, I wanted to add one other thing that people might
Yeah.
ask about, and that's, when you have a colostomy, your body still works. Your rectum, your colon still works. So it's going to produce mucus. And so you still have to get on a commode. It's different for everyone. Bobby might tell you once every 6 months, but for me, it's like every couple weeks. I have to sit on the toilet and some mucus will come out because your body still thinks it has to move stool. So that part of it is still connected. Your brain, that part still produces that. So you don't entirely get out of sitting on a toilet or a commode chair. But I would say 95% of the time, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I totally forgot because I don't. I probably haven't done it in now 10 months. I just don't produce anymore
right.
for whatever reason. I thank God and
because you're old, I guess. Maybe.
Yeah, probably all dried up. No, and that's a great point. I'm sure we missed a few, and if we did, sorry. Definitely put that in our comments after watching if we missed something. Or you think of something different or a question, just let us know in the comments here on the live, but also after viewing if you didn't catch us live here today. And definitely, Shawn put up Mark's website is in our description. He's got some great products, and if you're looking for something unique and you think Mark can design it, definitely hit him up. Robert, you want to do our sponsors?
Sure. Yeah, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Mobility Professionals and Urology Professionals. Like I said earlier, they're a great group of professionals that are very good in doing what they do by providing the best durable medical equipment along with excellent customer service, and they are available to assist you with all your needs. Mobility Professional services the Southern California region, and make sure you contact them if you need any of the rehab equipment or wheelchairs. Their sister company, Urology Professionals, is a uh, local company, but they provide services nationally. So wherever you're at in the good old US of A and in need of catheters, give them a call. It's called Urology Professionals. So let them know you heard it about them on here on our show at Live to Roll. And like I said, they're family. They're really involved with the community and are really accessible when you need them.
And that's where you're going to find your products for Hollister for the colostomy items as well. So you'll get those items from the same people you get catheters from, and just need a prescription just like everything else. Great show, everybody. We got some great other shows coming up next week. Monday we got Hell Wheels. He's gaming. He's back. He's getting healthier. He has his little ups and downs, but hopefully he'll be with us on Monday. Every Tuesday at 3:30, I'm with the boys, Shawn and Tom. We're discussing great topics, so check us out. We're live every Tuesday at 3:30. And on Wednesdays, we got T Fizzle. He's gaming. He was able to game last night, so I saw a bit of his show, and so check him out. Both Sarab and Tom with their gaming. Hit them up, even if you're not a gamer. If you have any questions, hopefully they got the answers. And then next Tuesday, we got I can never do this one.
Real Girl Talk.
Yeah, Real Girl Talk. I always want to say Real Will.
Yeah.
It's Real Girl Talk. So check them out. We got Brianna and her lovely ladies with her. And then don't forget, at the beginning of the month, Mickey was in our chat earlier. Mickey and her friends with Michelle and Ellen and Juliana, they're rolling with the Golden Oldies. They're every first Thursday of the month, so check them out. Also, you can always check out any of our past episodes on all of our shows in our live section of our YouTube. And we're going to be here every second and fourth Tuesday of every month, or Thursday of every month. So, Mark,
Nice.
thank you for hopping on, talking.
Yeah, my pleasure. It's good to see
I know,
everybody.
Yeah.
I know
Thanks,
it's a
Mark.
shitty conversation, but we had to do it.
The shit
It's all
show.
good. I enjoy it.
And when I think of shit, I think of you, Mark.
Thanks, Bobby. I really do appreciate that.
Thank you, Mark.
All right.
Thank you, Luis. Thank you, Robert. Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
You guys.
You guys take care.
Everyone
to
have a
roll.
wonderful weekend.
All right.